Back when Dragon Ball Super Superhero released, I heard a rumor that apparently it was supposed to be a Piccolo only movie, and this was actually confirmed true later on. Apparently, Akira Toriyama planned to make it a Piccolo solo film, but yeah, the executive producer Akio Ioku convinced him to add Gohan into the movie, basically making it a duo film. Trio if you count Pan, I guess. But yeah. When I first heard that, I kind of thought that they kind of screwed over Piccolo with that, huh? Because Piccolo was a character that was he was basically Vegeta before Vegeta showed up.
He does exactly what I do, but better.
He had ties to the main character, he had ties to basically the strongest villain at the time, King Piccolo. And he, like a lot of other characters, kind of been pushed to the wayside because Vegeta came and then basically became Goku's new rival. Gohan came and got stronger over the years and surpassed Goku. Trunks came too, and it's like the more strong characters get introduced, the previous strong characters keep getting like pushed down. It's I mean, obviously we all know it's power creep, it's a bunch of things really. It's really unfortunate because this was kind of Piccolo's chance to like come back into the forefront of the Dragon Ball series, and I think he did. But it's like, did Gohan really need this though? I don't know. I don't even think Gohan really like needed a new form necessarily. It's cool, but it kind of overshadowed Piccolo's moment, I think. And it kind of led me to a wider question, like, are some of these characters being held back because of other characters in the story? Piccolo and Gohan are the main one that I think of because a lot throughout Super, it was a lot of, I don't want to say rehashing, but like calling back to things that we've seen before in Z, like, oh, Piccolo sacrificing his life for Gohan in Resurrection F, that arc. He also did something similar in the Tournament of Power. When something gets too self-referential, it seems like it kind of goes in a loop sometimes. And I feel like it stops characters from growing, or or sometimes it even like flanderizes characters. And I think you can kind of see that with Goku even in Dragon Ball Super, or at least in the Dragon Ball Super anime. There were certain points where it felt like he just became a parody of himself, to be honest. And I'm sure people have talked that issue to death, so let's just focus on the main topic of the video. Basically, it just seems like very often there can't be like just Piccolo things. It's Gohan is always going to be included in this. And sometimes the opposite. And I feel like I don't know, if you have Gohan and Piccolo, obviously like Gohan's going to be stronger, Gohan's going to have more of like a leading role. Yeah, you could see this if we go back to the Resurrection F arc, or movie if you prefer. Like, Piccolo was struggling with a guy that Gohan, who hadn't been training, who had had massive muscle loss, turned Super Saiyan and then one-shotted. And it's like, this is a Piccolo that has never stopped training, by the way. Like, it's like, you could say similar arguments to like Tien versus Krillin or things like that. How is Krillin still the strongest human when Tien never stopped training, yet Krillin has like a wife and kid, he stopped, he became a police officer? Logical string of questions, right? It's really unfortunate. In a way, Gohan's power is kind of like a cap for Piccolo, because they would never let Piccolo become stronger than Gohan, or even like above a certain percent, unless it sets up Gohan being like, okay, I guess I've been lax on my training, kind of like it happened in the Tournament of Power arc, like right before the tournament, where Gohan wanted to regain his strength, so then, you know, Piccolo beat him up a bit, and then they had the 2v2 versus Tien and Goku versus Piccolo and Gohan, which, yeah, they hoed Tien in that fight too. Like, I don't know why they put him up against Gohan. That's crazy. Either way, it's like, I mean, yeah, you could kind of see that as well too there, right? Like, honestly, Piccolo and Tien got hoed. Like, they kind of, if they faced each other, I feel like we may have actually seen something at least, you know? But Tien kind of got buried in Super anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Basically, it's interesting to think about how that movie would have been had Gohan not been involved. Like, if Gohan was involved, would we have even seen Pan in the movie, or would it have been like a cat in the hat situation, where like Piccolo has to like make things right before Gohan finds out or something like that? Or maybe there wouldn't have even been a reference to Gohan. Maybe it would have been just Piccolo, and I feel like that could have been pretty cool. Like, it's not even like he's a character that doesn't deserve to, you know, rise through the ranks or gain that spot again. Like, there have been points in the series where he's surpassed Vegeta, where he's surpassed Goku even, and I feel like it was the more interesting parts of the series, where like that top spot was probably going to go to Goku, but it was kind of up for grabs. Like, Piccolo was technically stronger than Goku, slightly, at the start of the series, and then yeah, that's why Raditz went to Piccolo. Or I mean, you could argue Goku was suppressed, but I still believe I think Piccolo was like slightly stronger at the max power. Either way, Piccolo was a little bit stronger. What else? Then Goku died. They became stronger, but Goku was the strongest because King Kai's plan and everything like that. Then the Frieza saga, Goku was training, so like we didn't really know how strong he was until he stopped. But they kind of like on King Kai's planet, they did surpass how strong Goku used to be on planet Namek. We did see Vegeta get pretty strong before Goku showed up. He was even stronger. I think Gohan may have very briefly passed him in power when he got angry. Probably not. But yeah, basically, we saw Piccolo fuse the nail. We saw Vegeta get a Zenkai and be able to see the movements of Final Form Frieza for a bit. Piccolo when he fused with Kami later on. Vegeta and Trunks in the time chamber in the Cell Saga. Like there were a bunch of moments like this where there wasn't like a solid like pecking order of Goku number 1, Vegeta number 2. Sometimes they'll switch. Gohan number 3, and it's like the more solidified spots there are like that, the more boring it kind of becomes because it's basically like an unspoken rule that like these guys are never gonna be in contention again, especially guys like Tien who like really suffer from that. I've been talking a lot about Piccolo and Gohan, but honestly, that was the first duo I thought of. The second duo I thought of was Goten and Trunks. Specifically, there was one scene in Dragon Ball Super. It was episode 77 where Goten wanted to go train with Goku on Beerus planet, and Goku fully intended to bring him there. But this is when Bulma was pregnant, so then Trunks said, yeah, he didn't want to go far from Bulma, so he asked Goten to train with him on Earth. And it was like, it was so disappointing to see that because Goten is just, at that point in the story, Goten was a character that they did so little with in canon. And then they like hinted, okay, no, maybe Goten's actually gonna learn something here. And then he went right back into like basically being right back to being basically a freaking NPC who, you know, sometimes gets a line or two. And it was pretty unfortunate. It's not even just that. It was also like, I think there was a moment where Vegeta basically said what everybody was thinking, as he does sometimes, where I believe it was the same arc. It may have been before Universe 6 Arrival Tournament. He basically said that they're too reliant on each other and like they need to train on their own to get stronger. And I believe in the manga they did later on, like during the superhero arc, ironically. But I don't know, even then it's like, I feel like there's so much they can do with these characters, especially Goten. And I know I can't even say that because like we have future Trunks, sure, and I feel like you can make an argument with those two, right? Like that those two are another duo where like present Trunks is never going to be as cool as future Trunks because he just doesn't have that history. But like Trunks out of canon, like in GT or even in some of the movies, has done more than like in canon Trunks, like even now, even like up to Super in a lot of ways. Well, not the manga, but the anime more so. But I don't know, like if you count GT, sort of. Either way, that's another one. And yeah, Goten, who is literally the Saiyan with the most potential, even greater than Gohan, and he's just like so underutilized that it's crazy. I think I mentioned Krillin and Tien earlier. Like it's, I don't know. You could argue it's not just Krillin and Tien, but it's Krillin, Tien, and Roshi. Argue maybe you can throw Yamcha in there, but it's like how Super kind of disrespected Tien by making him weaker than Roshi and just saying, yeah, Roshi's been training recently, which is insane. And it's not just that they made him weaker, they made him severely weaker. Roshi basically battered Tien without even getting any sort of a power amp when he got possessed by that one girl. What's her name? Urine or something like that? I'm pretty sure. Not spelled the way you're thinking, but yeah. It was unfortunate. And that single sentence sums up Tien ever since probably what was the last cool thing Tien did? It was pretty cool. I don't know how he did this. When he deflected that attack that was going for Gohan, that was pretty cool. But then like he immediately got whooped afterwards. I don't know how he did that though. Like that's what I'm talking about though. Like the fact that he was even able to redirect that shows that he is strong. Like you can't even, like somebody who was just weaker would not have been able to do that, even with a technique like the tri-beam. Like it would not make sense. So he has to be like pretty strong. But then, I mean, it probably goes past characters limiting people to just the system of Dragon Ball itself. Like, if the humans were stronger, would like they would have to eventually be stronger than the Saiyans Super Saiyan form. Like, I've heard that argument a lot, that like a lot of the characters aren't actually weak. They're relatively close to the base form of the Saiyans, and like Piccolo obviously is stronger than the base form of the Saiyans, but like if they made them stronger, then it wouldn't make any sense, because they would be stronger in base than a lot of the characters with transformations, which would like it wouldn't make any sense. Like, you can't have base Goku weaker than like Tien and like Krillin or anything. So then the solution to that is to give them transformations, but like the transformations are usually like genetic based, or like, oh, this guy's like an android, or this guy's whatever. So if there's just normal humans, like, it's very, you really could make something up, but I feel like there just isn't really like a care to like hype up somebody like Tien, which is super unfortunate once again. But yeah, I think that's basically all I have to say for today. I don't know what I'm gonna post next, but appreciate if you made it this far into the video. How do I outro again? Yeah, I'd appreciate it if you left a like, consider subscribing, and until next time, peace.